First, you need to preheat the oven to 400 and then set up a baking sheet with parchment paper. You'll have 2 medium sweet potatoes. They need to be about 1.5 pounds total. And then you can prick them all over with a paring knife or a fork too. Pop them on the sheet tray. And then they're going to bake for about 1 hour or until they're super tender. The sweet potatoes are gonna be done. The skin, you can see it's sort of shriveled up. Everything's looking good. They just need to cool a little bit before you handle them. This gives you plenty of time to go ahead and pre-bake your pie crust. So take a chilled pie crust. You can use a homemade one or one that you've purchased in the store. You'll just situate the parchment paper and then pour dried beans in here. If you have pie weights, you can use them too. The whole point of this step, it's called blind baking, is to sort of set the crust up for the filling. So you're pre-baking it a little bit so that it doesn't get soggy once you put the filling in. It's going to bake at exactly the same temperature as your sweet potatoes. So you'll just pop it in the oven now for about 15 minutes. Go ahead and hold these hot beans out. Have a little bowl handy. Now you're going to bake this crust until it's just golden brown for about 10 to 12 more minutes. Now you'll peel the sweet potatoes. They're nice and cool, easy to handle. You can use a paring knife. Pop them in the food processor. Then you're going to puree them until they're really super smooth. Once it's extra smooth, you're going to measure out 1.5 cups. And now everything else goes in. You have 3/4 cup of milk. You'll do 1/4 teaspoon salt. You need a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. 1/4 teaspoon ground ginger. This adds a really nice spice. And my beloved nutmeg. 1/4 teaspoon of this, grated just right in. 1/2 cup dark brown sugar. And then you'll do 3 eggs. You're gonna go ahead and beat the eggs together here so that it makes it a little bit easier to mix everything together. And then you'll just whisk everything together. Granny Smith apples are excellent for pies in general, and this pie in particular, because they're so tart and crunchy. Then you just need to thinly slice the apple and cut around the core. You could also cut it in half and then core it with a spoon. At this point too, your pie crust is definitely cooled off. Bring it over to your board, and then you're going to layer the apples onto the very bottom of the crust. This just adds a great little surprise to a more traditional sweet potato pie. Then you'll just go ahead and pour right over the apples. And then the pie is ready for the oven. It'll bake for about 50 minutes or until it's just set in the center. Now just let the pie cool until room temperature. Use a wire rack, or I often just put it on the stove top. A delicious combo pie with southern roots, sweet potato apple pie.